So Halloween was kind of weird. Woke up not feeling great, as you may have seen in my one post, but I was still able to get out for a nice, quiet birthday dinner. And I was able to watch most of the usual horror classics that I take in around this time every year. Um, but I feel like YouTube movies is low key anti black for kicking me off of the free version of Scream 96 before I could finish because it was still Halloween in my time zone when all of a sudden that shit decided it wanted to revert back to the paid thing. That was not fair just because it's because I paused it. If I had known it was going to freak out, I would have just left it and like carried my phone around to do whatever the hell I wanted to do when I had paused my phone. Whatever. Not like I haven't seen that movie a million and one times. That's why I have the freaking pin I'm wearing in that community post photo. But it was nice. It was nice. I have officially entered the final year of my 20s. I mean, it's kind of weird. It feels like it's just symbolic of tying up loose ends. That's the vibe. That's the perpetual vibe. It's recovery. It's make lemonade out of lemons kind of tease. Anyway, let's stop being corny. Um, the other thing I have like I don't even know why I separated it this way, but I have it like 1A and 1B. One was Halloween slash huffing and puffing about music. I could have just made this a separate shit, but anyway, 1A. How was Halloween slash huffing and puffing about music? The first part was me somehow realizing 5 months after the fact that Andre 3000 put out another classical music album. I was so like I knew about the flute album when it came out, but I didn't get around to listening to it until 2024. And I really dug it. But then I found out about this piano album literally last week. It, I saw the Met Gala outfit where he was wearing that cute little baby grand piano on his back. I just thought it was a sickening reference to him being a musician, me not paying attention. I don't be always staying up to date on people. I'll be like months late. But um all my rambling to say, I connected the dots and I, I just heard through the blogosphere that people weren't fucking with this one either. And I'm like, how are people still whining about his stuff? Because I'm just going off the flute album. And I remember me with my high school level flautist skills. I was self taught in flute. But I played clarinet was my instrument for band. Piano was my very first instrument ever, but then I was played flute in like pep band. So like I have high school level knowledge and experience. And then I have acquaintances and I've seen people who are like pro college and beyond level. We all just dug Andre 3000's flute album because in my opinion, why I think it worked is he wasn't going beyond his playing ability with the flute. And the genre he was doing and the fact that he was in an ensemble just tied everything together. It was just vibes. It didn't seem like, oh my God, some egregious thing that doesn't fit in with classical music tradition, you know, the kind of stuff that gets Grammys, you know what I mean? Like it's shit I've heard before. And it made its way into my rotation for a while. Um But with this piano one, as someone who has admittedly much more experience with piano, but like It's just like there's no question with piano that I can tell when something is decent and when something's not decent, right? With the flute thing, there was intentionality, blah 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 blah. With this piano, it was just no, it, just no. And me listening to it, I'm like, oh, now I get why niggas is mad. Now I get it. Now I get it. The piano one, he was not nearly skilled enough to do what the heck he was trying to do. And that's me saying I'm no virtuoso, but I've been playing a long time. I've taught. I've performed at the college level. You know what I mean? His thing that he put out sounds like my noodling when I'm trying to practice, not something where like you record it and you're saying, oh, like this, and then it's getting like, you know what I mean? I'm cutting myself off, but do you know what I mean? And this is not to act like Andre 3000 doesn't make good music or that you have to have XYZ certain training to do XYZ. It's about the intentionality. There wasn't the same intentionality with the piano one that there was with the flute. And that's why I think if you want to gripe about the piano, have at it. Be respectful because some people I think are acting a little crazy. But, you know, I mean, I'm just one person. Who am I? But still. And then my 1B was more freaking bitching about music. Okay, this is about Weird Al. Freaking Tumblr, man. If any of y'all have heard about that whole reputation Tumblr has for being just painfully white, it's because of nonsense like this. So, this person who I believe is a non black person of color. So, a person of color, but they're not black. They basically make this post that, in essence, says something to the effect of Coolio was right, actually, and Weird Al was kind of whack for making Amish Paradise. This is a long standing circular discussion that people have. And I, as a black person and as a Weird Al fan, I don't think that it's a bad discussion to have. Yeah, he may not have meant harm, but if I don't think that it's bad for people to feel some type of way about the way that their music is remixed and used. So put a pin in that. Anyway, that's the person makes this post basically defending Coolio. And this person's a little younger, they're early 20s. And then just everyone is jumping down their throat. Like maybe like a third of the people, not even a third, maybe like a quarter. A quarter of the people are like seem to be other black users and a sector of people of color who agree with the original poster. Like, yeah, you were right. Like, Weird Al was whack for that. And then, like, the overwhelming majority of people is freaking the hell out and acting like they said Weird Al just stole their unborn child from their womb while they were still alive or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's this whole thing. It just like I've been taking a bit of a break from Tumblr, like trying not to just be on there like round the clock, right? And I pop in whatever day that was that Weird Al thing popped up or was circulating, and I just had to be like, because it was all kind of whack responses. It wasn't just, hey, like I thought Coolio gave him the okay, which is the commonly held belief and misconception. There was a mix up. It's an okay to think an okay thing to think that. But it was people being mad disrespectful and I was like, "No, we're not doing this because Coolio didn't actually say okay." And people have hashed this out. I mean, Weird Al and Coolio had hashed it out before Coolio passed, thank God. But you know what I mean? There was a mix up. So I had to go and pull like what two, three sources to show, hey, no, nobody's making anything up or muckraking, like some other person was saying in the comments. It's like this weird thing where we're not allowed to criticize celebrities, and like don't let it be about anything with race or gender or whatever. Just the mildest thing. This is why we get these huge, like, I'm not going to take it to a really dark place because it wasn't that dark. And like Weird Al, when people have brought up things to him, then he's been like, hey, I won't say that anymore if that's really an issue, or I won't do that anymore in my routine. So, like, it's this thing where people think that it's either criticism equals cancellation, or like we're not allowed to say anything at all, or I don't know, but it was just very strange. It was strange behavior. I'm of the opinion that and this is coming from someone who goes to sleep in an Amish paradise shirt every night, like damn near every night. Yeah, I like that song, but also it's a little like crazy that me, as someone who was born when that song dropped, um that the first version I'm hearing is Weird Al from Kids on the Playground before I hear the more serious, somber Coolio version, you know? And that doesn't mean that Weird Al is like the worst person ever. And then another thing that reminds me of the other thing, the opposite was people, instead of saying, "Oh, you're being the woke mob, cancel culture police, all this," it was the opposite with the other people saying, "Oh, I side eye people who like Weird Al past age 10." And people saying Weird Al was never funny and all this. Like, why does it have to be all these extremes? Why can't we say, yes, Weird Al is a very funny parodist who also can tread into like really juvenile humor and a type of white guy humor that can be fucking annoying and grating sometimes. And that's it's okay to criticize the different levels of that, something to that effect. It doesn't have to be these big extremes, bruh. Lord. But anyway, I guess maybe I grouped all those together because they were like a lot of huffing and puffing. The more enjoyable one, I think, is my whole habit of queering Christmas classics, aka it was so many things that I read so much into as a tween, and it added a whole other layer of fun to Sunday school. Um, my status as of now is I'm a crunchy granola Christian. I've gone through the whole gamut. I grew up in Sunday school in early childhood, and then I was in secular school and did the whole mega church experience in a freaking mostly white with Midwestern town. And then I've done the AME um, experience, the black church experience. I've run the whole gamut. I had my freaking atheist agnostic period. But the Jesus fandom is for me. I can't let go of it. That's me. But Christmas has definitely evolved as I've gotten older. I still try to find ways to hold on to the magic because it doesn't have the same type of spark that it did when we were kids, right? Because of like consumerism, and just when you get older, then things in general are not as magic because you see, um it's like how you're seeing how Wizard of Oz works, right? You're seeing like the man behind the curtain, you're seeing how things work. But I don't know. You got to have little things. There was this quote that I had in my reading today, actually, for class, that was saying something to the effect of the purpose of doing creative work is to like continually re engage with life or something. I wish I had pulled it up before now, but I think that really summarizes why it's so much fun to go back to many of my favorite books and do different rereads as I'm getting further into my academic journey. because it's so many book. I've always been a rereader. I've always reread books because it just, one, if I like a story enough to own it, I want to reread it. And it just, you know what I mean? Like, why would you not? If you're not going to reread it, like, why do you own the book? But several things that I like to revisit are this one short story collection. This is an abridged one. And then there's this one movie that I like, my government assigned Disney Christmas classic. And it's not the one that you're thinking of. So we'll start with the book. The book is A Midnight Clear, Selected Family Christmas Stories by Katherine Paterson. Um, the version that I have was published through Scholastic, and it's an abridged one. So like, I don't know why this didn't register to me, because I remember it saying in the Scholastic Book Fair catalog that it was abridged, and it says selected family Christmas stories, but I didn't realize there's a longer version. Anyway, this version has the story Exultate Jubilate, and that one is about kind of like a Scroogey middle aged guy. And he has two kids who are under 10 years old. And he has a wife and they're all really big into Christmas except for him. And he refers to himself as, like, what did he say? Like an Easter and Christmas Christian or something to that effect, right? So he just kind of puts on airs, but it's kind of about him trying to regain the magic of of the holiday and the season, and just remember the good things in life, because he doesn't want to grow old and then, heaven forbid, he dies, and then, his wife is still there and his kids are still there, and it's like, how are they going to remember me, right? And you're probably wondering, how, Nikki, does this connect with fucking queering Christmas classics, right? Well, as a child, around when I got this book is around when I started reading fan fiction. And one community I was obsessed with was Ship Manifesto. And I'm telling you, this is probably the main thing that taught me to be really good at literary analysis, because the whole concept of having like shippers goggles for my like Gen Zennial fandom people who still say shipper goggles, that whole concept of reading things with that lens is what taught me the concept of reading things through other lenses for class and just in general. Anyway, I would read this story from A Midnight Clear using my freaking shipper goggle lens. And I had convinced myself for so long that this was like this tale of forbidden romance and yearning between the Scroogey guy and then this one young man who comes to help him set up his children's fucking rocking horse in the story. And if you read the thing, there's a really sweet, deep, sudden connection between the two of them, but it's not that kind. And it's not to say I was like crazy for reading that, but it's just the purpose of literary analysis and all these lenses is not to say that, like, oh, you can just, like, you can have an interpretation, but you need to have evidence to back it up. That was my interpretation, but there is not evidence to back that reading up. Therefore, like, that's not how you read Exultate Jubilate by Katherine Paterson from the Christmas collection A Midnight Clear, you know? Anyway, it's still a good short story. I recommend the ones that it's from Selected Family Christmas Stories. Um the version I have, they're saying, is like a Scholastic only one, but I yeah, any version that has Exultate Jubilate, at least find that one. It doesn't really matter the other few, but that's my shit. Um, and then the other one that has more overt freaking like queer vibes to me still is the Santa Claus from 1994, aka my government assigned Disney Christmas classic, not Nightmare. Nightmare, I feel like as a young emo, I liked for the aesthetic, but I was pretending to like that shit for the movie wise. Like, if you want talk about stop motion, Tim Burton, let's talk about freaking whatchamacallit, Miss Emily Corpse Bride. And excuse me, Nightmare, is Nightmare the one where it's technically not Burton but it's Selleck? Am I getting mixed up? Now I can't even remember who's done what. Don't drag me too much for that, but you know what I mean. Anyway, the Santa Claus. Y'all know it, the story of Tim Allen replaces the Santa in this universe. There's this whole thing of like how the Santa is like this mantle that can be assumed like a fucking superhero by different people instead of it being like one immortal nigga or something. Um it's a classic. Even like some of those dated special effects, like the dated computer ones, I still find really charming. I don't know what it is. It's just it has so much heart. We gotta love what's his name? Mr. 24 and Mr. Boyfriend of Wednesday Adams. Oh my gosh, the Jewish man. That actor, he's so funny in this movie, man. He's so good. Everybody had a crush on him as a tween. David Krumholtz. I am so sorry, sir. Sorry to that man. Um, but the whole queer part, I guess part of it was it gave me trans vibes because and also just like queerness acceptance because the whole thing of Tim Allen going through almost this body horror thing. And listen, y'all have seen me, I'm fat. So like I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, it's grotesque because he's fat. But it's body horror in that why is my body changing like that overnight? Not like gradually, as somebody would do as when they're gaining weight, or getting older. You don't just suddenly go gray and gain 50 pounds overnight, right? Um, so there's that whole thing of like learning to accept himself. And also like at the end when Charlie's like, I'm going into the family business, and people thinking like, oh, Charlie, you don't need to be spending time around your father if he wants to indulge in this fantasy and all these kinds of things. There's just a lot there for like a queer allegory. So there's all that there. But then I think maybe, is it leading? Is it the first movie or the second one? Maybe it's both. But I remember rewatching one of them last year, and between Tim Allen, Scott, and I can't remember his ex-wife's name, but that lady, and then Judge Reinhold's character, they was giving me like, obviously it's like alternative family, like, oh, step parents, blah blah blah, but also it's giving me throuple vibes. Like, I think it's whatever one where they were saying, oh, you look hot in that sweater or whatever. Like that shit, like just all this nonsense. And I think it's that, and then also the way that they're always so eager to like take to help Santa. And I'm not being weird, please don't let me get hiccups, because when I get really lord when I get really excited about shit, I get the hiccups. I'm gonna have to end this early. Oh my gosh, but you hear all my shit about queering Christmas classics. My resource rec is the Ship Manifesto live journal community. I gotta stop and go get some water. This is so chaotic. Thank y'all for listening.